It is the Remix Morning Show. Let's go, y'all. We got our host in the building. First of all, let me introduce myself. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor right here live for you and yours on your Boom Bap Preface. But your host for today is no other than Kalanji Changa and Kamal Franklin. Let's get it.
What up? What up?
What up?
Yo.
When the schedule changes, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, man.
Renegade culture all again, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? I'm looking, I'm like, damn, it's a renegade. It's instead of the remix, it's just the re. You know what I mean?
Hey.
What's popping? We know what to do, though.
We had a good weekend, you know what I'm saying? Biggie smashed all over Big Pun, you know what I'm saying? If anybody got to check that out, you need to get that out right away.
Clearly.
It was like lyrics after lyrics.
Listen, that was a dope Sunday. If y'all didn't know, it went down Sunday, Biggie versus Pun. Man, that was great. I'm glad y'all came through, and it was good.
Yeah, shout out to all my punishers out there. You know what I'm saying? Clearly Kamal got something in his tea mug early this morning.
Big Bun went down, B.
Whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? But y'all can check that out, man. We got stripped on YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and everything else. But we have it available at the for those of you who are Patreons. You can go to the Patreon channel and check it out 30 times if you want to. We won't even trip.
Shout out, even if she might not be up in it. I usually like to stay out the chat, but shout out to Deborah Rodriguez. You know what I'm saying? Right. Who in terms of voting, she knew what to do. You know,
that's right. She said Big Pun.
Royalties, you know, affect her voting when it comes down to the music and lyrics and all that kind of stuff.
And Big Till. Big Till was in the building. She knew what it was too.
True.
Big Till got a Big Pun t-shirt on right now.
I don't know who this Jeff Wilson dude is you was trying to get referee, but
he's one of the judges.
I banned him. We'll never hear from Jeff Wilson again.
Chill, man. Him and Craig Bardo was our official judges that we hired. We also hired Balagoon, but he wasn't available. I don't think so. But we know what it was, man. Pun forever.
I try to tell them Sundays you just gotta come. It's live. You gotta come. It might not be a replay, so you just gotta be there.
Not true.
Word.
When you get banged with them copyright infringements, it's like we want our money.
Quick. It ain't even waste no time, man. It's like as soon as the show was over, I tried to rewind it. It's like it ain't even happening, homie.
Yo, what y'all do this weekend?
Besides punish y'all, let me see. What do we do? We's preparing, man. It's a busy week, man. So it's been really crazy just trying to get things in order, man. You know, organizing. Organizing is a new cool. And dreading coming in here with you characters. I'm like, wait a minute, Tuesday, it's a pretty good chance that I'll be stuck with these guys. So yeah, otherwise, just work, man.
We're doing our family vacation planning. Our kids are out of school for the week. So
hey, wait. School just started. How are they out?
Teachers got the best jobs. I don't care. I know there's some issues around salary, but they get to take off mass amounts of time. Back in New York, they got off every Jewish holiday. They get to like a couple of weeks off every year. It's like, I want my job to be like that. I'm not saying that they get paid well.
Nah.
Yes.
But I'm saying there's a lot of breaks. But I need my little ones to be in school so I can get some work done.
Yeah.
So, we out for winter break. So we're about to take a little trip, do a little family vacay thing together, hang out, that kind of thing. So it's all perfect for that.
Hold on. So he said he's doing a road trip. Usually when you do a road trip, he call in like, I'm sick. You know what I mean? So we probably won't see you for the rest of the week. That's what it sounds like. What you think, Ed Doctor?
Wow.
Make something in the chat. We're taking a trip to Biggie's gravesite.
We can't even get a good lie. Just straight up be like, yo, I ain't gonna make it. I'm going on a road trip. It's all good. Enjoy yourselves. Anyway, my weekend was great. Did the veggie taste joint. Rocked out there for 6 hours straight. My legs is killing me. Had to go get a nice massage, but I'm feeling great now.
Oh, you got a massage, huh?
Oh, yeah. You got to treat your body right.
Okay, no doubt. Shout out to Big Ray for hooking the Ear Doctor with the massage over in the West End.
I can't with this too.
Hey, man. What's dude over there getting massages at the Veggie Taste? You a cold dude, man. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, we stressed out over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna let
I guess.
y'all stress. I catch y'all on the next break.
Oh, now you want to dip out?
Right. He
So,
dipped. He's like, I'm out.
yeah, I guess DJ's got the best job outside teachers, huh? With the
DJ's got an
vacations.
excellent job. Let me just
Yeah,
spin somebody else's music.
man.
And
Listen,
I'm
man.
good. I'm good with mine.
That's all you got to do,
Pay me,
man.
pay me.
Yeah, I just got up today, man. I said, I ain't even gonna, I'm just gonna take a shower, do a couple push-ups, and
Just a couple, obviously.
I'm saying I did most of them last night, man. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Stop hating on the God, man. Anyway, man, what's popping on around the way, man? What you get into this weekend, man?
Wow, I mean, it was just us with the babies, and then we're working on some stuff. Community movement builders. Somebody just gave us a little shout out. Again, I'm supposed to stay out the chat. When they say friendly things, I might be able to respond, whatever. So I worked with like 25, 30 years. You know what I'm saying? That's how old I am now. Back in the New York days. So shout out to Sede for shouting us out.
Okay.
All the work we've done together over the years. But
okay.
yeah, Scott got some things, cooking here and there, that kind of thing, trying to make sure the sauce is good, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
You was chefing?
Nah, it's a euphemism. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that I got a lot of things I'm doing. I fast food.
Man.
Hey,
before we go there, man, shout out to David Crockett. You know what I'm saying? You became a YouTube member. You know what I mean? Salute to David Crockett. I guess he'll be in the chat, you know what I'm saying, with the folks doing what he do. You know what I mean? Making it wonderful. There was a death in Hollywood this week, man. What's my man name? AJ
who?
The brother from Friday, man. Smokey.
Oh, that dude died?
Yes. He just transitioned a couple days ago. So salute to him. I got so many AJs in my head, so I kind of feel bad. I believe it's AJ Johnson. I could be off. I'm sure the folks in the chat will help me. If not,
I don't think nobody really know who that dude is.
Wow,
it's almost like your cousin dying, and then you put it up there like it's
that's ugly, man.
And it's like,
I don't even know why I mentioned. I don't even know why I mentioned that around you, man. I'm asking for it. I'm asking for like
Hollywood royalty. That dude, I don't understand.
He is, man. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think he should get a future mention on BPM for. I mean, I'm sorry he's gone, but he wasn't worthy.
That's just disrespectful, man. Anyway, shout out to all the folks in the chat, man. We appreciate you all for continuously holding us down. Word on the streets, we got a new show coming next week. I don't think we're going to talk about it just yet. However, next Monday, look out for the latest show on Black Power Media. As we roll into October, it's a whole lot of new things around the way. So make sure that you that you get with us.
Yeah, we got several things scheduled, right?
Yeah. We got a whole lot.
Finally, all right. We finally feel. I know we've been telling y'all for months.
Yeah,
that these new shows coming up, and then the folks, they delaying for very good reasons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we finally feel like in October we're about to explode with at least 2 or 3 new shows. Finally, we're about to get our scheduling back in order. So we're gonna get some new hosts, some good hosts, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So
they'll probably be as good as me.
What you think? As good as who?
Think they'll be as good as me?
Well,
not quite.
Well, they may speak
Come
the
on,
King's
man.
English,
Wow. Anyway, moving right along. Shout out to our man, Dr. Jared Ball, who's somewhere working very hard. And we know the work that he does. We know he's not in the chat because that brother, you know what I'm saying? He's somewhere
not in teaching the chat.
Man, he teaching the truth to the young Black youth over at Morgan State. Wait, hold on. Who that?
Nope. He told him, okay, read chapter 14, all 400 pages for this. And I'll be right back. I got to step out.
Man, listen. See where your student loan is going? To BPM.
Your children over canceled. The student loan that should be canceled.
Man, when your children at Morgan State, shout out. You know what I mean? If you subscribe to Black Power Media, you might get a good grade. So you know what I'm saying? Make sure you do the right thing around here. Oh, okay. Can't tell nobody. It's like dry snitching. But yeah, but also today's a very important day. It is the 10-year commemoration of the the execution of Troy Anthony Davis. You know, this is I can't believe it's been 10 years already. That's just like, woo! It's amazing. So I've been having a lot of flashbacks and everything because of the fact that it was a very trying time this time, you know, a decade ago. So, you know, definitely shout out to the Davis family. We'll be doing a commemoration tonight. You can check it out. Go to troydavis.eventbrite.com, troydavis.eventbrite.com, and register. A lot of good people on board tonight. It's moderated by Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! You have Kim Davis, Troy's sister, my man Dejan, his nephew, Mark Lamont Hill, Sister Delia, and a whole gang of people will be on tonight. So make sure you check that out. But anyway, it's also the anniversary of the Occupy movement, right?
That's right. It was a couple of days ago, but you know, when folks took over, I forgot the name of the park in New York. They took over a park in New York.
Zuccotti.
We'll come up with it over the break.
Yeah.
They took over the park, and then it actually literally started a national movement at the time, where folks took over other public spaces throughout the country, started the slogan or reinstituted or highlighted the slogan of the 1% versus the 99%.
Right.
There was a lot of folks in the street. It had sort of an inglorious ending, kind of just petered out after a while. And so there's some things, you know, we're going to talk about a little bit more, some things that we think were contributions to larger struggle, and some things that, you know, maybe if you had to do it over again, like anything, you might change a few things, like, you know.
Yeah. You know, it's wild. Zuccotti Park. Yes. Shout out to Sounds of St. Elsewhere. Yeah, you know, the ill thing about it is just the number of atrocities and murders that have taken place since then. You know what I mean? We're talking about the Trayvon Martin situation. We're talking about Mike Brown. What else? We had a man out in Baltimore, Freddie Gray. You know what I'm saying? And just so many others. Of course, we know that, you know, the whole kneeling on the neck of George Floyd. Yeah. And just so many other things. So, you know, definitely, you know, salute to all the workers who helped to ignite this new brand of movement. I think that for us, one thing, like a lot of the folks who were behind Troy Davis, the Occupy movement was a natural progression because of the fact that folks moved on to it. Kaboom! Look who stepped in the room.
Black godmother.
Black godmother, she said. What y'all want to do about that?
Oh.
What's going on today?
Way too much stuff that's just not right, but here I am anyway.
This does feel like a real Monday morning. I know it's Tuesday, but for all of us, it feels like, I don't know if they see us, we're all like, hey, how y'all doing? It's another day in the week.
Listen, and I'm sitting there, I was so happy to hear Jackie tap in because I'm like, come out, boring as hell. Sorry.
You gonna stop talking about my friend like that.
Thank you, Jackie.
Oh, okay. Now he's your friend. I see how we do, boy.
I look, I don't let people talk about you like that. You're my friend too.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Come on now.
Even though they should. That's another
no
discussion.
fighting amongst my friends.
Okay.
True.
You're not like my other friends.
Unless it's me.
Exactly.
Anyway, well, we glad to see you. But before we talk any further, we got to bring the doctor of the ears, the main man, brother ear doctor, on deck to give us some juice, and then we're gonna come back with some news and everything.
What's good, y'all? What's up, Jack Gang? The locks is flowing. I love it. I used to have my locks going, but you know, yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get to some weather report right real quick. So sit back and get ready for it. You know how we do right here at the RemiX Morning Show. So let's go. Whether you know it or not, it's the weather report. Whether you know you don't know. You're about to know. It's the Weather Report. What's up, y'all? This is the Weather Report. This is Black Power Media. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And make sure y'all hit that like button, that subscribe button. Go to Black Power Media on patreon.com, drop some change in the bucket, and go check out blackpowermedia.org. You know what I mean? We got some stuff on there to check out, all that. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the weather report today. Like I said, it was a great weekend, rain everywhere, but still made it out. We had a good Saturday where we got to party for a minute, and then right after the party, the rain came. But anyway, let's start off in VA. Big up to Norfolk, Virginia. They got a high today of 83 degrees. Now let's take it to the west side. Let's go over to Long Beach, California. And guess what their high today is? 83 degrees. It's a lot of 80s going on around here. So I guess we getting ready to get into the fall part in a minute. Next, let's go over to, all right, y'all ready for this? Batamabang, Cambodia. Batamabang, Cambodia. They got a high today of 80 degrees, 80 again. Now let's take it over to the motherland, Africa. Let's go to Ghana, Accra. Accra, Ghana. They got a high today of 84 degrees, another 80. Now let's take it to Arctic Village, Alaska, where they have a high today of 15 degrees. And you know, it's as cold as the white man. But no, not just a regular white man. It's as cold as these white men that's on horses with whips detaining Haitians. That's right. They took it back to slavery. They took it back to the 1800s and brought it on back, just like they did bell bottoms and all types of fashions from back in the day. They are doing it once again. U.S. border agents are removing Haitian migrants. They are cold, cold, cold. And that's what it is for the weather report today. Now, let's take it back to the morning show with the morning crew. You know how we do. All right, let's get it. Yeah.
Okay, welcome back to the remix. I got caught on the Ear Doctor's original. What was that place you named?
Say that name again.
Bang, Cambodia.
I'm sure that's not the right pronunciation.
That sounds like
Obviously, it's not the right connotation. Of
You
what
sure?
it means. So
All right, it's spelled Battamabang. Batter my bang.
never leave the country. Just never leave the country.
Unfortunately, that sounds like a very dirty word, but I think it's pronounced Batam Batang.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the English lessons, y'all. Real good at it.
Not English lessons, Cambodian lessons. Cambodian. Whatever their language is. You work on your language.
That's wild about the whole horses and the whips thing, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that story because you're right. That is, what's happening over there. It's constant in terms of the ways it exposes, what the U.S. is really like, as if people need more proof or evidence. But yeah, no, it's wild. Yeah.
I'll get out of here and let y'all get to the news. Peace.
All right, man. Batamabang. Yeah, bada boom, bada bang. Anyway, let's take it to the news before we get in trouble messing with the Ear Doctor.
Is there going to be a globe? Where's the globe?
There's definitely going to be a globe. Where that globe at?
I feel like there might have been a copyright issue with the globe because the globe is like gone from there. You know what I'm saying? Remember the spinning globe?
Yeah.
Only me and Jackie.
There was a map. Okay.
There's a map, not a globe.
No. I remember spinning.
You remember spinning?
I remember spinning too.
Man, listen, man. I think that it spun on around, man. There's so much craziness with so much trouble in the LBC. What's happening, man? Remix Morning Show. Ah man, it's a lot of good things in the news, a lot of bad things in the news. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get it started since
All
I
right.
think Kamal has all the goodies and whatnot. But I'm gonna start with something local. Uh, there was a lot of folks are getting excited over this whole PPP loan joint, right? So locally here in Atlanta, there was a situation this past weekend uh, where some folks had got into a little gunshot situation, a fight over the PPP loans. So Atlanta police were investigating a shooting which appears to be initiated over a money dispute. The Paycheck Protection Program loan, where a fight started inside a club and spilled outside. And basically, what they're saying is there was a girlfriend and an ex-girlfriend who got into it, and the one of the girlfriends got a new boyfriend, and that boyfriend got shot by the brother because they had some kind of deal with the PPP loans. I mean, I'm kind of concerned right now with our people because we like totally losing it over this damn PPP loan thing. Last week we talked about a cat from Atlanta what's that? Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. He got 17 and a half years for those PPP loans. These folks over here, they over at Pal's Lounge in Atlanta, which is on Auburn Avenue, and they decide that they're gonna shoot each other over a PPP loan. I mean, like, how do you factor that into your business expense? What are you going to say when you have to? I mean, like, I'm kind of confused. You know what I mean? So I just thought, I just couldn't believe that story. I was just like, damn, I mean, it makes me wonder. I'm like, this whole PPP loan, it seemed like so many people, I know people that don't even have any damn businesses. They're like, yeah, I got a PPP loan. Like, you better stop playing with the government, man. This shit's a setup right now, man. So that's my thoughts on it. So I just wanted to know if I was just bugging or if this story right here was as outrageous as it appeared to be. But anyway, the guy got shot in the arm, and these fools, they're arguing inside the club. They get in a fight in the club. They go outside, put masks on.
Wait.
It did shoot homeboy. So it's going to be some trouble brewing over here in ATL. So just want to give you all that nice Atlanta news getting
I,
started.
I don't really know what the PPP loan is, to be honest.
I
Well,
I'm really confused. What let me stop lying. I'm not confused. I don't know what my emotion is right now. I think I'm amused. This is just stupid
I mean,
because
like, yeah,
I mean, as I was explaining, because when the PPP, when the government announced the PPP loan program, Abdus, Mister, get it wherever we can, because that brother was on the hustle all the time, and he was like, "Look, if they giving away money, we need to get some." And I'm
right.
just like, "Babe, it's a loan. It's called a loan for a reason. They're not just giving it away." And he was really good at chasing down that kind of stuff and finding resources that we were able to use, for other people. And that was cool. But he would not let that PPP loan thing go. And I had to sit down and explain to him, look, okay, fine. As Lukman Nation LLC, we probably could apply for one of these. But at
Right.
some point, the government is going to come knocking and they're going to take
Oh,
our
no.
shit. If we don't give them back their money, we're not in a position to be like the airlines and the travel industry and the hotel industry and all these major corporations that took PPP loan money for small businesses
Right.
and money that was supposed to be used to keep from laying people off, mind you. And they just pocketed the money and laid people off anyway. And these people they got a big old tax write off, because they laid people off. Businesses can do that. They get other tax write offs. So those companies are never going to have to pay back that money. But you and me,
And that's who the IRS looks at. They look at us because
Yeah.
like you said, the big Fortune 500s, they already worked out their deal.
yep,
And if they don't pay it back, they still like, all right, we'll give you a fine. It's like a tenth of what we got from you, and then
I
y'all just leave us alone anyway. So we ain't
yeah.
worried about it. Nobody going to jail up in here.
No, I mean
I
this
mean,
is I see how people are like, yo, we can take advantage of finally we can get something from the government. But this is not that moment. This is not that time. That the PPP loans are not that thing. The government is going to come knocking for the repayment of those loans, and they will take your stuff. They will take
Right.
everything you have.
Now, if you have a legit business, that sounds good. But if you're in a club at 3 o'clock in the morning, fighting over PPP loan, and then your girlfriend's girlfriend calls her boyfriend, and then you call your brother and they shoot that. I mean, like, how do you explain that? I mean, when you had to sit down with the IRS about paying his loan back, I'm kind of confused. Like, what you gonna say? Well, I put I put these drinks on my taxes. It was a business meeting at 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, like, come on, man. You know what I
I know.
mean? I mean, like, yeah, some things we
No,
got to
I
do
thought you
better.
you brought me
Dances
back
were
to Brooklyn
entertainment.
days where
What?
that was how to fight. That was always the way the fight started. Somebody
Boy,
once somebody got pushed or shoved, somebody was calling somebody to come with
yeah,
something, and then
yeah.
you had to decide if you was going to wait around for somebody to come with something, or you were going to call somebody, or what was going to happen at that point.
I mean, but if you
Classic bar fights.
But if you brawl in the club, you brawl in the bar, you can't go outside and put a mask on and shit and they don't know it's you. You
What
know what I'm
was
saying?
the
It's like,
mask
come on
for?
now. There's like three of us, we fighting in the club and we making threats, then we go outside, we all got masks on. Like, they'll
Well,
never
at that point,
You'll never
they
know
worried
it
about
was me.
COVID protections. At that point, they're like, you know what? Wait a
locks
minute, we too
hanging out and
close.
shit.
Let's do some
Jackie
COVID
still got the
protection.
same shirt on. Yes. We in bad shape, man. And I remember back in the day, folks was fighting over what do you call that? The tax refunds. You know what I'm saying? I know that caused some issues and whatnot in the hood. But PPP loans, come on, man, stop playing, y'all. Anyway,
Mm.
what's the real news about today? Come on,
Yeah. Well, I got what I got. It's going to always take me a second to share,
it's all
but
good.
I'm always do my best. So, folks were already talking about some of this stuff, and so what I wanted to make sure that we got to address was what was happening in Texas. Is that popping up on the screen?
We see your
This the New York
very
Okay,
Times
lovely
see your
article.
Google
Google.
page.
No, we see your Google page.
You don't see the
Very
Google.
cute Google page, might I add.
The cute Google page, but
Yes,
not well.
the
My
little
daughter did that,
ladybugs, but
so
not
I
the art.
appreciate her hard work. What about now?
Nope, just you.
We're back. You know what
We're
you
back.
do?
Okay. What?
Hit that share button and go to the Chrome tab, and you should be able to click it from
Oh, is
there.
that how that works? Why are you just telling
Yep.
me that now?
Because I just found out the hard way the other day.
You know what I'm saying? You see me here struggling with it, and then you're gonna wait for me to mess it up, and then you're gonna
Hey,
say
come on, man.
something.
Y'all clowned me the whole last week about my
There
tech
we go.
skills. Now all of a
It's
sudden,
mad because pun lost the argument. But anyway, something more serious.
yeah,
So,
hope they take your PPP loan back. But go
so
ahead.
deported by U.S. Haitians are in shock. Deported by U.S. Haitians are in shock, saying that they don't know the country. But this all started because there was obviously after the assassination, the gangs, the latest earthquake. There's been Haitians who've been making their way from South America to the United States, and that's been happening along with other immigrants. And then folks have made their way to Del Rio, Texas, and now there's been the start of mass deportations, in particular of Haitians who are being singled out to be sent back to Haiti. Many of which, because some of the folks who have left many years ago, and so this again is their first experience, as it often happens with immigrant communities, of going back to wherever their previous home was. And so again, they have little to no connection. Sometimes things have changed, even unfortunately worse than were before. And so these folks are struggling. And again, this is the same country whose policy usually leads to the unrest that's happening in these countries. So it's really important that we look and we see how folks are first forced out of their land because of U.S. policy of not straight out invasions of other folks' lands, and then after that, in their attempt to have a better life and to come here to the United States because they think that's what's going to lead to a better life, they are again taken and sent right back over there. So those resources that could be used for various other means are in mass used to deport people. And again, this is now happening under everyone's so-called favorite liberal president, Joe Biden, who we were told was going to be somehow different.
Yeah.
Who's leading this venture.
This is like insanity at its finest. Of course, we're not surprised because of the fact that that's what they do um, to Africans. Period. Home and abroad. That's what they do to any particular country that they want to that they have beef with and they want to destroy and take over. It's crazy that here it is. You have and for the record, a lot of folks aren't familiar when you talk about ICE. The largest population of quote unquote migrants or immigrants who are being deported happen to be Haitian, specifically here in the South. You know what I mean? So there's a real beef with Haiti, when you talk about Europeans. But here it is, you have the whole situation with the assassination of their president, you have the whole situation with the earthquake, and they're still talking about sending 14,000 plus Haitians back to Haiti in the middle of all this turmoil. So when your vice president hops on TV or your president hops on the news and they popping this shit talking about they want to support and all of this type shit, then we know what it is, man. We know that it's straight BS, and you know this really burns me up. I mean, it burns me up because of the fact that it's like they continuously deal with us in the most ruthless ways. I didn't hear the story about the whole whips thing that the ear doctor showed. So I mean, that takes it to a whole nother level, though.
Excuse me. Yeah. The whole. For First of all, why is U.S. Customs and Border Patrol? Why are they on horses at all? That makes that to me the whole horses, and then you've got people who are talking about, oh, they're not whips, those are the lariats for the horses, the reins for the horses. uh, okay, so what? So that makes it better, and all that is to me is a an expression of this settler colonial mythos that, especially in Texas and places in the South, especially in Texas, oh my God, where they really have this ideology that they're trying to keep alive this rugged frontiersman that's at the center of American exceptionalism, taming the savages and taming the West and keeping the West from the Wild West from the savages and all this kind of garbage. So that's what that looked like to me. It's just typical, settler colonial white supremacism in the United States that's wrapped up in that Wild West mythology that those folks love so much. But the part of this that there are so many parts of this that are just so repulsive. But the one part of this that's really repulsive is that the people who are being deported by Biden without given the opportunity to even seek asylum, which is illegal under international law. That's illegal. So people want to talk about, oh, we had to elect Biden to implement harm reduction. What? Look at what Trump is doing to people at the border. We have to get Biden in so that families aren't separated at the border. Well, families are being separated right now. Only this time those families are Haitian. Because what's happening is Biden is coming out and saying that um, single adults are the ones that are primarily being deported right now. But those people actually have children. A lot of those people have children, and those children are being left behind without their parents, right?
Hmm.
So that's happening. And then you have the fact that a lot of the people were did not come directly from Haiti this time. They came from Central America because they
Panama and places like that.
yeah, because they immigrated from Haiti after the first earthquake, right? So then jobs dried up there after the United States humanitarian aid industrial complex exploited the situation in Haiti after the earthquake. So those people had nothing. They had nothing. So
Right.
they go somewhere where they think they can work, make some money, and send back to their families in Haiti to help. And then the jobs where they were dried up, because of US imperialism. So they had nowhere else to go. So they're being deported back to a place that they have not been for almost 10 years.
They should deport these settler colonialists who originally came here and committed genocide and the first act of gentrification or land grab. You know what I mean? So if we're talking about deporting, deport your motherfucking ass back to where you came from. How about that? That would be a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and you know, and obviously not uh, the idea, like, you know, in Texas, and that Biden is responding to this so much. You know, it's implicit in saying Haitians, but we're really saying Africans and Black folks, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
it's because they are responding to right wing or their white base that they want to win over by making sure they're specifically deporting Haitians. And so I think that also is a big part of the stories. And like Kalaji say, Haitians, in terms of how deportation happened, are dominating in terms of the numbers, and there's a reason for that. It's not just that it's about deportation; it's about who they're deporting and the ideology behind it, also, for folks to understand, particularly out there in the South. So yeah.
It's punishment. But yeah, so we stick with us, man. We're gonna definitely be reporting more on what's going on with this. This is like I mean, these motherfuckers, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, never cease to amaze you, man. It's like
No. And I just
anyway.
want to say real quick before we go to a break. This issue is not about, because I know somewhere people are like, but look at the way they're treating this group of people differently. That this issue is about U.S. imperialism. This
Period.
issue is about white supremacy, settler colonialism, and U.S. imperialism all around the world that creates the conditions in other people's countries where this country has no business in, so that people cannot live safe, happy, healthy lives in their countries. And they're literally driven out of their countries by this government and its allies. So the same government that does that, of course, creates this narrative that, these group of immigrants are more desirable than this other group of immigrants, because they have to keep us distracted from the source of the actual problem, and that is US imperialism. It's not one group of
Yeah.
immigrants or another, it's US imperialism,
Yeah.
period.
Right. So
Because
please
in the
don't get
other place that people are talking about, what we're really talking about is the fact that the U.S. has killed approximately 200,000 of their citizens in a 20-year-old war.
that's right.
And so, for anybody to think that somehow, because the U.S. is letting people, and to be honest, collaborators,
Mm-hmm.
That's
come
right.
to the United States, that somehow this is some comparison. It's not. That's not how it works. Folks in Afghanistan are also looking to immigrate out of Afghanistan because of the 20-year bombardment of war that has been leveled on their country, and the 200,000 people who've been killed. Right. So folks need to understand that, again, these situations aren't new. Historical migration, there's been studies, to the United States, have been linked to places where the U.S. has started wars, and or where U.S. policy has done most to impact the economies of other places, because the U.S. has been trying to get someone's leader out that it doesn't agree with. So
That's
this
right.
is based on the policies, the procedures, the war, the imperialism of the United States, which is driving people from their country. And if the U.S. wanted to help solve the problem, they could just leave people alone. How about that? Just get out the country. Just leave them alone.
Man. That come out, that was very I mean, that was profound. Just saying just leave them alone. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like it's just that simple. Stop fucking with people. You know what I'm saying? And we can all live wonderfully. There are 8 billion people on the planet. You know what I'm saying? And we all there's enough resources for everyone. And I just want to add to what it is you are saying in a nutshell, don't get caught up in the sidetracking of the slave. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They'll have us, and I'm glad that you said what you said, Jackie. It's against imperialism. They'll have us arguing about, well, this one's lighter skin and that one and this and that. Look at the context, look at the history. Like Kamal said, you talking about 20 years of genocide, 20 years of murder, 20 years of assassination, 20 years of thievery. You know what I'm saying? Shit. I mean, somebody should be, let up out of there. But like you said, it's going to be the collaborators because of the fact that, they're going to reward those in some cases. because not in all cases. You as long as you stick to the script and you do exactly what we say and don't deviate, then you might stand a chance. But the minute that you think you could run your own business, it's a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to our next story. This is around about the 10th anniversary of Occupy Wall Street. So many folks can talk about where they were when that happened. And again, as we talked about, Occupy Wall Street took place, started in New York, in Zuccotti Park, where folks started talking about the 99% as the folks who are being victimized, and it's us against the folks on Wall Street who have all the money and the resources. More than in over 600 U.S. cities and towns, folks started to occupy public spaces, started calling for demands to redistribute wealth. People were politicized through the process. There was political education in the parks. People set up tents, homes, obviously slept there for many nights. And so it was an important moment in organizing. And then, as we reflect on this 10-year anniversary, there's also, at least in some estimations, right, some mistakes that were made. I remember even at the time, like the sort of ultra democracy that was being practiced in terms of folks going to the park, and anytime someone wanted to talk, they pulled out they had to do the echo thing where instead of a mic, people would repeat what you said, that people voted on who got to speak. And then that took count. And you literally, in some places, had thousands of people. But imagine even trying to count hundreds. So even that sort of direct democracy led to sort of a little bit of a burnout for folks. And then the state decided when the movement seemed to be getting weaker, that it was time to crush, which means it was time to remove people from the parks. Then ultimately, across the country, folks started getting removed from all of the parks, and the cities, again at the behest of the federal government, started taking back over the public spaces, which Occupy first, sort of built up what they were doing from. So, what do y'all remember about your Occupy movement in terms of participation? And to start off with, we know it was a mostly white movement.
Yeah.
So we know that, but there were black folks involved in Occupy, stuff like that. So what's your
Yeah.
recollections?
I think that just real quick, and I'll let Jackie just jump on. Um, I think that one of the things that people were under the assumption that it was a clear line across the board, and that wasn't the reality. I think a lot of folks adopted the slogan again. There were a lot of people, keeping in mind there were millions of folks around the world who were protesting the situation with Troy Davis. You know what I mean? For one. And this happened right, there was a movement that was building and brewing up until September 17th. Now, of course, the white folks say that, okay, it was based on, what was going on in Europe, so on and so forth. But in places like Atlanta and other places, they were still, people were still hype off of that particular movement, and a lot of people joined on because there was nowhere else to go. So if you went to like Occupy Atlanta, there's folks that was there strictly talking about police terrorism. There's folks there that were anti-death penalty. There's folks there that were environmentalists, and so on and so forth. So I think that the whole 99.1% thing was, if you speak to the masses or a lot of people, you get a whole lot of different definitions. You know what I'm saying? I think that it was good that there was somewhere to go, and there was a plan and a program and an action with it. But I can't just give them all this credit like they just, like it was a groundswell that was, organic, because that's not the truth. And
Yeah.
I spoke in New York and Atlanta, and I saw the difference, on various occasions. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, no, yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I mean, like the origins of Occupy are always interesting because if you do a little bit of internet research, you'll find a lot of different stories about who coined the phrase, and protests in the UK that may have led to the rise of Occupy Wall Street and all that kind of stuff. And in DC, it was really interesting because the IMF is here, the headquarters of the World Bank, and I worked around the corner from it for years and I didn't know what it was. So I learned what the World Bank and the IMF were through the protests in DC that were a part of Occupy Wall Street. And I literally was like walking out of work one day. And we were leaving early because they were like, oh my God, there's this huge protest down the street. And I'm like, oh, hey, protest, let me go see. So I go out of the building I was working in, and there's tear gas and riot cops and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yo, what is this? All excited. And, somebody comes passing by and they tell me what it is. And I'm like, oh, for real? Okay, great. And it was good to see that kind of mass movement in the streets against the financial ruling class, right? But I live in Southeast DC. And I'd always been like, where y'all been when the cops been knocking us in the head? Where y'all been when we have not been able, poor black folks, poor Latinx working class folks have not been able to benefit from the economic boom that was going on back then in this city. I mean, so it was good to see people um, understand capitalism and the
Right.
evils of capitalism, and in particular, the evils of global capitalism, right? And especially, being an African and understanding the impact that the IMF and the World Bank have on the continent and other countries full of African descended people around the world. That it was good that, and but the problem was that from what I saw, the Occupy movement didn't make those connections. The Occupy movement was very much about the exploitation of capitalism in the United States, which is crappy. Yeah, that's horrible. But you can't talk about the exploitation in this country without connecting it to the economic exploitation of the countries that, again, U.S. imperialism exploits in order to profit off of in this country. See what I mean? So, I mean, I wasn't anywhere near as like vocal and knowledgeable as I am now. So I couldn't even express like some of the contradictions that I saw in Occupy, but I knew that they, in like the simplest sense, I knew that they weren't talking about black folks enough. They weren't talking about black folks in this country enough. They weren't talking about black folks around the world enough, and how this system of capitalism screws us all over. And I think that was a major weakness with the Occupy movement. But ultimately, it didn't matter because Barack Obama was like, "Fuck all y'all," and he just said, "No, y'all not gonna keep criticizing my precious Wall Street." And Obama, I remember that when the NYPD went in and destroyed the encampment at Zuccotti Park, and MPD was going after people here in DC. I'm like, well, is Obama going to do anything about it? And I was like, is Obama going to do anything about this? Does he not see how he's? And I was like, oh, oh, oh
He's
shit.
coordinating. He's helping to
Yeah,
coordinate.
that's
He's
right.
doing
Yeah,
the
I was
opposite,
like,
right? Because
oh,
there's a lot of conversation about how
oh,
that
damn.
consultations between the federal government and local police departments or local administrations started to coordinate what the dismantling of Occupy should look like, right? Because again, I think they picked a moment where they saw that it was getting a little weaker, and for a while they didn't mess with it because it was, again, with even with everything that folks have mentioned around some of the issues of it, it was a mass. It was somewhat of a mass, mostly white movement, but mass movement that helped politicize new people, that was uneven in its politics, but which did focus on, like you said, income inequality, particularly here in the United States. And it had been a while since that kind of sort of coordinated effort, which again, at the time it happened, no one expected it to happen. Sometimes these things do come out of the blue, where I think there is a story around Canada. I think a group or a magazine called Adbusters that put out a call that sort of led to people starting to do it. And then unexpectedly, there was a big reaction. And some of this obviously is taking place after the financial crisis, and people are thinking about capitalism, how capitalism works, who is impacted by it, and its failures. And so I think that also led to, again, at least in certain communities, an outpouring. And, I know people who got really politicized from Occupy Wall Street, but I also, just like later on with the Black Lives Matter movement, know people who became movement stars, and also benefited where sort of after it was over, the masses of people who decided to act and go out to the park were left figuring out which way forward next, as folks wrote books, articles, magazines, started other organizations, got that 501c3 profit. So, that happens. Yeah.
One thing that I appreciated here in Atlanta was that, because of, like I said, the whole Troy Davis thing taking place at the Capitol, a lot of the white left weren't really able to just sink their teeth in the way they wanted to. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that there were so many African organizers who was coming through and checking folks, because of the fact that there's always, we have to keep in mind, there's always a chance of sidetracking a movement. You understand what I'm saying? So again, this thing, it took place, it started off in New York around the 17th, but then it didn't reach some of these other places till later on. So particularly here in Atlanta, it was after the execution. So folks were still already hyped and so on and so forth. Now, we were under the Kasim Reed regime at that time. This punk ass mayor down here, he's running for office again. And he was literally, they had a substation, a trailer that they brought down to the site. And he literally got a couple rappers, some that we know, and they forced this one particular white boy that we know, Kamal, that used to wear an orange hat, forced him onto this thing, disrespected one of the elders. Fuck it. He disrespected Joe Beasley, one of the elders out here. Come on. And Tim Franzen was the face of Occupy here in Atlanta. He was the guy that was always on the news, so on and so forth. And they literally made him come up on this damn bus and chumped him. You know what I'm saying? They really tried. I told him, I was like, look, man, I don't give a fuck. He said it was nothing but brass cops up there in this particular joint when he got in there. And Kasim Reed's literally talking shit, so on and so forth. I'd have told him so many different words in so many different ways. First of all, I'm not getting on the bus if I'm not arrested. This ain't Spike Lee, motherfucker. I ain't about to get on your bus, number one. Number two, fuck you and these other brass. But the thing is, that's the way they were able to slowly weaken the movement here in Atlanta, that and amongst other ways. But like I said, it was a confusing thing because of the fact that it was anti-capitalist, but at the same time, there were so many different aspects and angles that made this Occupy movement successful. You know what I mean, for that particular time. But hey, speaking of that, we got the world famous ear doctor. We have a guest that's going to be coming on as well. Right after the ear doctor finishes with only God knows what he's going to come with next. You know what I'm saying?
Another dirty sounding.
Yeah. What was that city again, ear doctor? Just in case.
Kinky city name.
Oh, Bama Bang, Batama Bang, Batama Bang.
Sound like Africa Band Bottom Bang. Anyway,
hey, right? Hey, I'm over here in the barbershop about to get my Fat Joe beard lined up. So
okay.
I got a little entertainment news. You know, we be in here talking about it, so I'm gonna put y'all on. So that's
you look kind of stiff in the background, but cool.
Hey, you know, I told him to freeze. Yo, what's good, everybody? This is the RemiX Morning Show, and I am here with some entertainment news. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm gonna give y'all right now. Give me some of that. What DVDs you got? I get back with you. Anyway, so the entertainment news for the day is, let's start off with we actually as we talked about earlier, we lost a comedy legend, AJ Johnson. He passed at the age of 55. You probably remember him from his biggest movie, which was Friday. He was also in Lethal Weapon. He was in Menace to Society, House Party. He was in How to Be a Player, I Got the Hookup, Baps. He was in videos like Real Motherfucking G's, playing Easy E. So this guy's done a number of things. We got to give our love and blessings out to him and his family, condolences and all that. All right, so next, let's go over to your boy, your favorite rapper, Kanye. Kanye just bought a $60 million house built by an Asian architect. Like he needed another house, but he has one, and it's out in Malibu. So big up to Kanye doing it like he do it. The house is actually a little bit too close to the neighbors for me. If I'm paying that much money, I need some space. I'm just saying. Other than that, we're going to take it over to a sister that did her thing at the Emmys the other night, Michaela Cole, who had her acceptance speech, and she was the first Black woman to ever win an Emmy for writing a limited series. I actually got put on to her back in watching Chewing Gum when it was coming on, and now she has her joint out right now about destroying herself. So it was actually it's a good series because you put her life pretty much on Front Street, and it's pretty dope. Next in our entertainment news, we have The Weeknd. That's right, the musician The Weeknd is coming in surpassing Michael Jackson's Thriller. Becomes the most awarded male song in history with his song Blinding Lights. That's right. The Weeknd came through and said, I need that Thriller crown. So he came through and got it. So that's what it is. That is our entertainment news for the day. Now we're going to take it back over to the crew, because you know how we do right here at the RemiX Morning Show. Let's go.
I think The Weeknd is related to my wife's family, B.
Oh, word?
Yeah, I might have to give a little call up. You know what I'm saying? I know he's doing that, doing big like that. The Michael Jackson numbers. No,
yeah,
we in-laws maybe. I gotta figure that out. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's that. I smell money scratch right there. He did it right.
Exactly. Like what? He got some what? He doing what? Wait a minute. I gotta let him know we related or something.
Come out trying to extort The Weeknd. Anyway.
I'm just trying to start the week.
My name is The Week. What?
Anyway, man.
Back to y'all next break. Peace.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Kamal's out of his mind, as you can tell, ladies and gentlemen. But we have we're gonna come back real quick. We have a guest, Delia Perez Meyer. You know what I'm saying? She is an activist, a freedom fighter. She is the sister of Luis Perez, who is on death row in Texas, and we're going to talk about his case, who she is, and we're going to talk about a joint venture, so to speak, that we'll be on tonight together. So we're going to be right back with you. Come on, I think you might as well join this interview, man. You look like you're going to be bored by yourself over there, so we're going to bring you on with us.
But, I could do what's needed. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt, brother. You here. Anyway, we'll be right back with you. Peace. What's happening, Delia? How's everything going?
Good morning. Great. How are you guys?
Good, man. Good morning to you too.
I've enjoyed listening to you all.
Okay. Well, welcome to the RemiX Morning Show.
Thank you.
We usually a little wilder, but we knew you was going to be on, so we said we're going to come it down over a little bit.
Turn it up. Where's the margaritas?
Oh, okay. She getting started early. Now you over in Texas or what?
Yes, we are in Texas.
Man, y'all drink margaritas for breakfast? You ain't playing over there.
Either that or mimosas.
Okay.
Always down with a little brunch
Right.
mimosa.
I'm just kidding. Or coffee.
Okay. Come on, don't slow down now. But for the folks who are not familiar, first of all, I definitely want to appreciate you coming on, last minute. And we know that you've been fighting for a cause for quite a while. First of all, if you could, before we even go there, give the people a background on who you are and who your family is, because in fact, I know you come from a very popular musical family.
Yes, I do. I do. Well, my name is Delia Perez Meyer. I live in Austin, Texas, and I have an innocent brother on Texas's death row. His name is Luis Castro Perez, and he's been there for 23 years. And I do come up from a very musical family with a very long line of wonderful musicians and bands and orchestras, and probably going back to over 100 years. And it's really been a blessing, to come from this musical family. And my father is Ernest R. Perez, who is unfortunately on hospice right now. And I have him here at home. I've been taking care of him since he's been in hospice, which is one of the things that's really a tragedy about all of this, is that my brother's been on death row for 23 years. And we were so hoping that my parents would be alive to see him walk out of that prison, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But we have been fighting for my brother's life for 23 years, and we continue to do so to this day. And, Louis has 10 children and grandchildren. So, we have to care for them while he's gone. And So yeah, Texas is our hometown. We were all pretty much born and raised here in Texas and in the surrounding areas. And of course, our families are from Mexico. Kamau, I noticed you have una camisa cubana. Are you from Cuba?
Okay.
Afro-Cuban.
Okay.
He's from down the street.
No matter where we at, that's all. So why don't you give us a little background though on the, for folks who are new to hearing about the case, about your brother's case and situation, and then lead up to maybe where you're at in any appeals or court hearings or that kind of thing.
Well, basically, I shouldn't say basically. Judge Judy says no, basically. So Luis Castro Perez walked into the house of his friends 23 years ago and found one of the girls lying on the floor, and he picked her up and she scratched him. And that DNA under his fingernails is basically what sent him to death row. So he was friends with the girls. He had spent the weekend there, and he got up in the morning. He left the house. While he was gone, the murderer came in and murdered all three girls. So there was Michelle was slaughtered in her bedroom. Cinda was slaughtered as she walked in the door from work. And then there was a little girl involved, and her name was Stacy, and she was 8 years old at the time. And she was murdered and slaughtered as she came home from school. So it was very, very tragic to see the way they were all brutally murdered. And at that time, we believed that maybe the railroad serial killer, you guys might have heard about the railroad serial killer, who traveled across the United States, jumping on and off the trains and murdering people with whatever he could find, sledgehammers. I think Dr. Claudia Benton was murdered with a statue that she had in her home. He raped, he stabbed, he strangled, he beat all of his victims, about 30 that we know of. And so at first we believed that it was this railroad serial killer. But since then, the attorneys have told us that his DNA was not present in the mix. So Louis had the trial. It went, pretty quickly, very swiftly, as they do when they think they have the right guy. Slam dunk, put him on death row, and here it is 23 years later. And of course, I started my fight for him. It took a while, dealing with the shock and the pain and the horror and the terror and all of this that you go through when you first have a loved one on death row. I think I probably was just in shock for about almost 2 years before I met some people, before I was able to get up and fight. And I walked into a lawyer's office and he said, it's going to be $1 million down, which I didn't have, of course. And so I reached out to an organization called the Campaign to End the Death Penalty, CEDP. And so that was pretty much the first organization that I got started with in trying to help my brother. And then, of course, there were many more after that. We have the Texas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty. We started the Texas Moratorium Network, the National Campaign to End the Death Penalty. Then I got involved with Sant'Egidio from Italy that helps death row inmates across the world. And then, of course, I got hooked up with the Innocence projects and the Witness to Innocence, which are my buddies. So there are probably 177 men and 2 women that have been exonerated from death rows across this country. So they were instrumental. Besides the Troy Davis campaign, they were instrumental in my, really standing up to fight for my brother. As I was learning from everyone else, how to fight for him. So, we went through, in Texas, the cases run concurrently. We have a state and the federal case at the same time. So they did that to speed up the execution so that most people are executed within 5 to 10 years. So for my brother being there for 23 years is truly a miracle. And it speaks very loudly of all the organizations and groups like you guys who have stepped forward to help us and to speak out and to teach us how to be warriors and how to get out there and fight. So that's basically what I did for 23 years. My brother went through, over 20 lawyers, over 20 attorneys that just basically took the case, collected their 30 grand, rubber stamped, and walked away. No one ever called, came by, inquired, or looked at any of the evidence that we felt was contrary to what they had. So
not to cut you, for folks who are like I said, your brother on death row, right? This very sensitive case because you're talking about women, children, so and then there are folks who are going to say, well, that's her brother, you know what I'm saying? So tell us about who Louis is and was before this situation, and also if this were that defining moment, why would we say that he's innocent? Why would we say that, you know what I'm saying? Is there like an alibi or you know what I'm saying? Just for the folks that's listening, I want to,
Well, I mean, first of all, Louis is a wonderful person, and he is the same person today that he was on that fateful day of September the 10th of 1998 when he found his 3 best friends slaughtered in their own home. And he has been very, very strong and faithful throughout this whole ordeal. He believes in this justice system. We have always believed in the justice system. Our father was a military policeman. We come from a long line of military. And so, we come from a different mindset that there are good cops and there are good police. And that's where we came from, that someday the truth was going to come out. But like my friend Suja Graham says, he was set free not because of the system, but in spite of the system. And so that's sort of how I have come to think about this, But my brother was a wonderful person. He still is. We grew up in a very beautiful and loving family here in Austin, Texas. As I mentioned, my dad was a musician and we had wonderful parents and a great upbringing. Louis is jovial and, very loving and caring and takes great care of all of the family and his friends. And he's funny, he thinks he's funny. The guys on death row will may not agree because of his corny jokes that he continues to share. But even on death row, he has remained himself, and kept his morals and his values intact, and loved his death row inmates. We've watched over 500 people be executed while Louis was there. That takes a toll on my brother, and he loved each one of them. He cared for them. We shared everything we had with them, whether we send them food or books, magazines, etc., that he would share that with all of the buddies, When he first went to prison, he didn't have a record. He'd never been in prison. And so they put him in with the juveniles. And so that was really my first experience with death row, was getting to meet all of his buddies, the juveniles that have now been released, which is by the grace of God, So he took very good care of them. He was like a father to them, and they loved him. And I've had over 72 pen pals that my brother sent my way that we still continue to write and to care for, whatever that means, getting in touch with their attorneys, their judges, their families, But my brother, I can just remember mostly the fact that he loved sports. So he played baseball and football, and he was a high school quarterback star. And, he was just a wonderful kid. We're from a very staunchly Catholic family. So all the boys had to serve mass, and, so I have a couple of pictures of him that I can share. Maybe you see that.
Right on. Okay.
So that's one.
How was he when he was arrested?
They were all 36 at the time that the girls were murdered. And this is my dad that I'm caring for in hospice right now. And those are Louis's children. Like I mentioned, Louis has 10 kids that, that are children. This is his latest grandchild that, unfortunately, because a child was involved in this case, my brother was never allowed to see children on death row. So he's never been allowed to see his children.
So where are you guys at right now?
Okay, so right now,
what's happening right now?
Okay, so like I said, we have been fighting for many, many years with many organizations. So we started with the Innocence Project, David Dow in Houston, Texas. Then we moved forward to the Innocence Project with Barry Scheck, Peter and Russell Neufeld in New York City. And then we most recently have been helped and accepted by the University of Texas Law School, has an Innocence clinic for their students. So with all of those Innocence projects and the new attorney, so we got a new attorney about 2 or 3 years ago. And en español decimos que es una persona chingona, right? I would not normally use that word, but she's a fighter. She's a fighter. So she is not a criminal attorney. So she has had to go and learn about DNA and about everything related to these cases. And she's had some great help from Michael Morton, who was released from prison innocent after 25 years or so, and from the Innocence Projects, and of course her own team. So she's had Louis's case for several years. She's now working for the Supreme Court Justices of Texas. So she carries a lot of weight, a lot of clout, and she has worked her ass off to save my brother. The best thing that has happened to us, as we go to the senators, the legislature, every single time and testify with the Senate Criminal Jurisprudence, Criminal Justice Committees, talking about our cases. In the meantime, we got a new district attorney. His name is Jose Garza. Jose Garza is a DA. Well, he's our DA now here in Travis County, but he has worked all across the country with different human rights organizations and legalese things. Well, and I'm not supposed to talk about this publicly, not supposed to say anything, but I'm going to shout it from the rooftops today. He just handed over 17 boxes of evidence that they've been hiding in the closet as 3 DAs have served and trying to kill my brother. They're gone. He's here, and he is honest. He's open. He's transparent. He said, here are the 17 boxes of evidence that they've been hiding from you. You take them. We're going to open up the DNA labs. Anything in the refrigerator, you can have it that's been there for 23 years. It may not be good anymore, but you may take a look at it. And we're going to open up all the police files. So you can have every single thing that's in those police files. And the very next day, the chief of police retired because Brian Manley was Lewis's lead investigator. So as a lead investigator, I hold him personally responsible for withholding 17 boxes of evidence because they believed that it was Lewis, and that was all she wrote. They did not look at any other evidence. There was 45 unidentified prints lifted at the crime scene that day. They didn't check one single print.
45.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say 45?
Yeah, 45 fingerprints that they lifted. The fingerprints that they lifted from my brother, by the way, my brother's fingerprints and DNA was not on any of the murder weapons that were found that day. But his fingerprint was on a glass, on a Coca-Cola can, and in the bathroom where he went to the bathroom. And that was it.
Now, there's a film out on your brother. Is that correct? Can you tell us about that?
Yes, the film is called The Road to Livingston. It's really not a film about my brother's case. I was speaking at the University of Texas, as I often do to the students, because I say, you be careful where you put your fingerprints and what you touch and what you pick up, because it could happen to anyone, just like it happened to us, right? So there was a filmmaker in the audience, and I think he was surprised by the fact that I said that I will pick anybody up and take them to death row to visit their loved ones. So, there's a lot of people that can't afford to go. It's a long drive. It's 400 miles. It's difficult. It's costly. And if you don't have a car or you don't have money. So he basically followed me for several years on the road to Livingston. So he just got in the car with me and filmed all the way there and all the way back. And it got to be a little annoying after a while, but the film came out beautifully. It went to 5 film festivals. I share it as much as I can. So if anybody wants a copy, I will certainly get those to you. And it's kind of whimsical. We visit back and forth to death row. We meet the women who fall in love with death row inmates, most of them from Europe, and that they come to Livingston, Texas, and they hang out, they visit their loved ones. We go through a wedding. You all may have heard the name Kenneth Foster. So Kenneth
Absolutely.
Foster was released from death row by the grace of God, and his grandfather, who is now about 95 years old, but saw him released from death row. So we filmed the wedding of him and his wife, Tasha, there. And then we talked to a few other girls that go and collect the bodies, because after the man is executed, they have the body just laying there, and whoever, is going to take the body can take them. Usually it goes to a funeral home. But in this case, she took her husband, she put him in the car, she drove him home, she bathed him, cleaned him, and buried him in the backyard. So there's a scene there where we gather around Greg's, around the grave in Connie's backyard, which was, again, every single thing that I've been through has given me strength and faith and hope and fight to keep this fight up for my brother. So that's where the case is right now. So we are hopeful, prayerful. They're ready to go to court. And, I just will never stop fighting for my brother and for anybody else on death row, innocent or not, as I have come to believe now,
I mean, one of the main issues with these kind of cases has always been that, whether the attorney general or district attorney, once they seize on a suspect in a narrative,
Right.
They stop investigating, right?
Exactly.
Once they feel like they have somebody that they can say something points to,
Yeah.
whether or not there's enough evidence to point to them,
Yeah.
whether or not there's alternative theories of the case, there begins to be this coalescing around a particular person. And like you mentioned, a lot of times this has happened in political prisoner cases, the former Panthers. It's
Yeah.
happened a lot of times. These things are called Brady materials.
Right.
The information is not turned over to the defense attorneys, and these convictions happen without a full spectrum of evidence being looked at, reviewed, analyzed. And,
Exactly.
and these folks are so committed to trying to get these convictions that
Yeah.
they'll do whatever it takes, which is why the system is so corrupted and or
Yeah.
corruptible. They'll do whatever it takes to get a conviction, particularly in a high profile case, because again, they think it may also further their career, or they may put this case to bed. So,
Absolutely. That's exactly
I'm
right.
not surprised. I'm not even surprised at the length of time it's taken, because the other
Yeah.
thing about this system is that it'll punish you and give you an extended amount of years in prison to serve. And it takes so long for
Yeah.
any real appeals process
Yeah.
to go through. And it's, like you said, it's only through the actions of some serious people you've had on your side that
Yeah.
have probably allowed him to live as long as he has, particularly
Absolutely.
in a state like Texas, which applies the death penalty so quickly and tries to deny the ability to appeal on different grounds. So it's something, it's a horrific experience. And like you said, even for folks who are guilty, and this is me talking, not BPM, not our network, I'm opposed to the state giving out a death penalty, because the state often gets it wrong, often has shown itself to not be a good arbiter of who should live and who should die, and why should that power rest in the state's hands. So,
Right.
I wish you, all the luck in the world in trying to continue to prove your
Thank
brother's
you.
innocence.
Thank you.
Hoping you get
Thanks.
the support that you need. As somebody who used to practice law, a lot of attorneys are terrible, and
Yeah.
you're right, and they grab the money. So
They sure
I'm glad
did.
that you got somebody now who's trying to work on your case and so forth. So I just wanted to put that out
Yeah.
there.
Well, thank you. And I mean, you hit the nail on the head for sure, because in our case, besides being three women, they were police officers. They were law enforcement officers as well. And so that really exacerbated the whole situation. But he's doing good. He sends his love to everyone every single week. We get to see him for 1 hour now because of COVID. They opened up the prisons again, so we get to see him for 1 hour each month, and that's been kind of difficult, not seeing him for 2 years, But now we're back, and he's doing well, and he sends his love to everyone, and he's so grateful. He doesn't know that I'm on the radio today, so I'm glad he can't hear me, because he'd be very upset that I'm sharing this details of his case.
We won't tell him this time.
Okay.
Before we go, you just mentioned one detail that seemed. I just want to make sure this. I understand this. You're saying that the adult victims were officers.
Yes. Yeah. They were law enforcement officers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I mean,
they came after him hard. The police department,
Yeah.
The Department of Public Safety, the FBI. I mean, everybody came in after him hard. And I mean, he was gone before you could blink an eye, But we knew that someday that the truth would come out. And I think that day is now, that they're uncovering inside those 17 boxes of evidence what truly happened that day. Like, for instance, my brother wears a size almost 14 size foot, but the murderer had a size 8 foot. So all of those bloody footprints that were throughout the home that did not belong to my brother, they just brushed that to the side. And then it's just one little example of how this whole,
those are important details to let out when you tell your case. Those are very important details.
Yes.
For you to make sure that people understand in terms of how you guys are standing with your brother. Again, on one level, no one should have the death penalty applied, but you're going further than that, talking about the potential innocence of somebody who was wrongly convicted. So making sure people understand those details is extremely important. So I'm glad you mentioned that also.
Thank you. can I say something about the I Am Troy Davis campaign?
Oh, I'm about to ask you a whole thing on it. Hold your
Okay.
horses, Delia. Chill.
Okay.
No,
I'm looking at the clock and my time is up.
no, we got you. We run the show. We got you.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, that was what I was getting to. What I was gonna get to. Your brother's on death row. He's accused of killing 2 police officers. The fact that he has not been executed, it's been 23 years. That tells you that there's definitely some holes in that particular case, especially in the state of Texas. We worked on a campaign to free Troy Davis. When did you get involved, and how did you get involved in that particular campaign?
Okay, so I'm going to have to look at my notes here. My brother went to prison in September of 1998, and around 2004, we went. The campaign to end the death penalty went up to Chicago, which is where the headquarters was. And so at that time, we had started working on Stan Tookie Williams's case, Kevin Cooper's case, the Chicago torture victims. And so those were the cases that we were working on here in Texas. We got to Chicago and we had to share hotel rooms, right? And so I got to share a hotel room with Troy's sister, Martina. Yes. And so that was a turning point in my life because I'd never met anybody. First of all, I had never gotten close to anybody whose brother was on death row. I didn't really know anybody on death row. So her and I sharing this tiny little room, we got to be very close, and we got to talk very intimately about our own brothers' cases. And I realized that I am Troy Davis, that our cases are exactly the same as far as what you go through emotionally and mentally and psychologically and physiologically. I mean, not even thinking about our brothers, but just us as family members, what we had been going through, And at that time, her cancer had reoccurred. So she was sick. She was so ill, yet so strong. And she would get up every morning and at the crack of dawn. And I mean, I get up at the crack of dawn too, but I'm talking 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and she would get up and she would start, let's go. We got things to go. We got a conference. We got a meeting. Let's do this. Get up, iron your clothes. So she'd get up and she'd slam the thing down and grab the iron and start ironing everybody's things and wanted me to iron. I haven't ironed in 50 years. And I was like, I don't iron, And, but she was so strong, and she taught me that strength and to never give up and never stop. And as I watched her over the years until the day that Troy was executed, she was such an inspiration to me, and I loved her so dearly. And then, of course, later on, as we were shooting the film, I Am Troy Davis in New York City, which was really exciting that her whole family came down for the opening of the play that we did. But it was, that's where I got involved. And then after that, we have a fast and vigil in Washington, D.C. that we do each year. So we stand in front of the Supreme Court and we fast, right? So I've never missed a meal in my life. So that was difficult in itself, right? Oh, my timer. Hang on just a second, guys. I'm sorry.
We're live with Delia Perez Maya. Huh?
I'm sorry. My beeper went off.
You got a beeper?
No, my timer went off. I'm watering my lawn, and it will drive me crazy.
Okay.
So
cool.
We went to the fast and vigil every single year for the past 15 years. We stand there, and every once in a while, their family would come. The Troy Davis family would come and speak out as well. And like I said, I had never missed a meal in my life. And I always like to tell this story that I was standing there with Suja Graham, who was on death row for, 15 or 20 years in California.
Right.
And my stomach started growling. And I said, Suja, my stomach is growling. I've never heard my stomach growl before. And he cracked up laughing after being in prison for 30 years, He He just couldn't believe it. So I said, you know what? I need to put something in my stomach. So we went down to the bar and I had a margarita. And then I started walking sideways because we hadn't eaten for 4 days. And so that was one of my first experiences with the fast and vigil. But to have their family present with us was always a blessing and an honor. And it just gave me a lot of strength, you know. So it's
what's happening tonight. There's something going on. It's the 10-year commemoration of his execution. Tell the good folks why they should check you and this other handsome brother in the top, probably be your right. Tell the people what's going on and why they should get down tonight.
Well, I really, truly, in my heart, believe that everybody in this whole country should stand up to fight against the death penalty. Because here in Texas, we've murdered 577 people. We have 10 or 12 on the list, ready to go. In the next
how many years was that? Because you keep saying over 500 something people. I was thinking you talking about the country. 577
No,
people.
in Texas, yeah, 576 people have been murdered here in Texas. And you know, and I just think that it's so important that even though there's only 215 of us now, so only 200 people are on death row right now. Not only, but 215 people are on death row. So it doesn't affect very many people out of the 250 million people in this country. So nobody really cares, you know, nobody's really stepping forward. Even the senators and the governors and everybody that we go to and appeal to, it doesn't affect them. So if it doesn't affect you, it's just not on your radar. Everybody goes about their day, their normal day. So I think that that's probably the biggest reason that I think that people should join us is just to hear our stories and understand that this could happen to them. I know nobody wants to believe that, but when it happened to us, it was just unbelievable. But I mean, in my heart, I think, you know, things happen for a reason. Being Catholic, religious, I'm like, God put me here for a reason. And that reason is to abolish the death penalty and get the education out. You know, there's a lot of organizations that have come forward to help us. And I'm just going to name a few. I mentioned the Sant'Egidio community, but we have the Texas Abolition Movement, the Human Rights Commission, the Kids Against the Death Penalty, the Witness to Innocence, the World Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty. So all of those organizations have come forward to help us here in Texas. And we're so grateful. And, you know, there's so many people that are involved in those organizations for, you know, to help with the peace around the world, to help with the homeless situation. And now more and more people are coming forward to help us with the death penalty as they see more and more people being exonerated. And like you said, Kamal, that the system is systemically flawed. And I think people are beginning to understand and realize that we need to make a change in this country and abolish the death penalty.
No doubt. So for folks tonight, check us out. Go to troydavis.eventbrite.com. That's troydavis.eventbrite.com. And you can get tickets. You know, it won't cost you anything, but if you want to make a donation towards tickets or whatever for the family, for Troy's niece, then that would be a great thing. But again, tonight you'll see there will be a screening sneak peek of an excerpt of I Am Troy Davis documentary. You'll hear from Kimberly Davis, which is Troy's sister. You'll hear from Dejon Davis Correa, Troy's nephew, Tenjiwa McHarris, Delia, Mark Lamont Hill, and myself at 8 p.m. tonight. And it will be moderated again by Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! So please make sure you tap in 8 p.m. tonight EST. And Delia, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your brother's story.
It was an honor, and it was wonderful to meet you guys. I look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, it was a pleasure to meet you too. Thank you so much for telling that story.
Adios.
Cool. Yes, adios. We out. All right, you checking out the RemiX Morning Show. We'll be right back at you. Man,
that was deep. She's holding up strong. So many family members who are just forced into the position of having to defend their loved ones. And they don't, they don't come out of an activist tradition. They never expected to have to take up these roles. And it just begins to transform how they see the system. She talked about how some of the things her father and her even her brother were in favor of, and then they have to confront these things head on. We just wish that folks could get there in some other ways, of course, but it's a tremendous burden, and I wish her all the best. Hope these boxes of new evidence help prove his innocence completely, and then he gets the new trial, because that, or it just doesn't even just gets out. If these evidence if this has evidence in his boxes are conclusive, he deserves freedom. So,
man, I'm talking about 17 boxes of evidence, and then even with what you were saying, and I'm glad you reminded her, because of the fact that she mentioned towards the end the shoe sizes and all of that type of stuff. I want to point out that oftentimes folks, they rap about, as organizers or whatever, you talk about so much with so many different people, sometimes you leave out some of the most important parts. So it's definitely, it was good advice to tell her to make sure that, don't forget to mention some of these things, because of the fact that, your brother and what the situation is, but there are folks who are naysayers and be like, well, I'm sorry, but nah, if someone's going to be convicted, let's make sure that all the ducks are in order. And we know from, the state of Texas and 2 women that were police officers. That's unheard of.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's unheard of, especially when the suspect wasn't quote unquote a white American. You understand? So that's just a real interesting thing. We're gonna go to y'all favorite DJ for a minute, the Ear Doctor. We're gonna be right back at you in a few ticks. You're checking out the Remix Morning Show.
You going to school, son?
Hey,
okay.
Hey, it's trying to drop some lessons real quick.
You take your head off in class?
Yo, Kalonji, so you're gonna be on a big screen tonight?
I'm on a big screen now. This is the Remix Morning Show. What you talking about?
Facts. Well, just make sure you put on a nice Black Power Media shirt and get your fronts laced and tighten it up. Because you're going to
y'all go there. Thank you.
Make sure that collar holds up.
Definitely, please iron it, wash your shirt, all that stuff.
See, y'all still hating because Biggie got mashed the other day.
Biggie.
Y'all try to bum rush me. That's all right, man. Well, thank you, 2 fashion moguls over here, Karl Lagerfeld and
Yo, so let's get to it real quick. Let's take it to school.
No doubt. Remix.
Yo, what's good, everybody? This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And, I was just, thinking, I was like, we did a show on terms before. In case y'all don't know, y'all can always go to Patreon and check it out. We talked about different words. And one word I wanted to bring up today to talk about is this word, bitch, the word bitch. Now, the thing about the word bitch is we first need to have a definition of the word bitch. The word bitch is known to be a female dog, wolf, fox, or otter. I never knew an otter was called a bitch, especially a female. And then you have another definition of the word bitch, spiteful, unpleasant, a disliked woman. Okay. Also known as a shrew, a cow, a witch, a cat, a hellcat. And then you have an informal term of bitch, which is like, yo, this bitch is heavy as hell when you're describing something. And then you also have another informal term like saying, my big bitch is there's nothing new in here. Like when you bitching about something and you're talking about something. So you have a whole lot of different words for bitches. Like even with Queen Latifah in the UNIT song, she came out and said, "Who you calling a bitch?" So she said, who you calling a bitch? Now, the thing about the word bitch also is certain people use it in different ways. Me and Trenton, we would start a sentence with bitch and end the sentence with bitch. Like, bitch, you ain't going to the store. Look at this bitch. See, and it was a term that we use, which was somewhat of a term of endearment, just like the word nigga, which was taken and flipped. So I just came to say the word bitch, depending on the energy behind it, is what it's used for. Cause like Too Short says, what's his favorite word? Bitch. Now we know Too Short got a legacy of calling people hoes, bitches, and stuff like that. But we also always has to remember that the energy we put behind the words is what it's about. Cause the words, just like a gun, it ain't nothing until the energy is put behind it. So that's my thought of the day behind the word bitch. So peace, bitches. Psych. Peace, all my people out there. Let's talk about it. Now let's get back to the morning show. You know how we do. What's the matter with this bitch?
The views and opinions.
Yes, that's when that ticket's supposed to come on. The views and opinions.
Let me start here though. Of all the people you could use, Too Short.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's his favorite word.
And just calling people names. If you remember some of that history, of some sprinkle history he got. So
I want to give a shout out to Minister Server. He always says words are colorful words. They're not curse words and stuff like that. It is the energy that's put behind it. Because I didn't start saying nigga till I moved down south. When I heard people down south saying nigga, calling each other nigga.
You weren't saying nigga.
I mean, in Jersey, we would call each other the PUSSY. We would call a bitch like, bitch, you ain't going to store. Oh, pussy, you ain't doing this. And that is what that is. Hiram said, what the fuck?
It's sort of, I mean, we all were taken a little bit by surprise by your history.
Yeah, definitely.
It's about colorful terms and realizing that if somebody comes up and calls you a nigga, you got to think, this person is trying to push my button.
I'm not for banning words. I'm similar to you on that. I'm not for banning. I'm like, it kind of seems extreme that you're going to ban a word because people are going to say it even more so when you ban it. And you can't, my other things that when folks put it out there, let's say in music and culture, you can't be shocked to me that folks going to pick it up, that you don't want using it and then come back and say, so I think all that, gets part of it. And I agree with you. It has many different terms. I mean, many different meanings to many different people or whatever. But you also got to make sure, I'm going to shut up in a second. I see you trying to get back in. You also got to make sure that you understand who you're using it, when you're using it, because there can be and there should be pushback when used inappropriately.
Yeah, because, sisters call each other bitches and it's cool. But then when a guy says, oh, bitch, then it's a problem. When black people call each other niggas, nigga, then when a white person says it, then it's a problem.
And there should be. And there should be. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Kalaji's at a loss.
Oh my goodness, we left Kalaji.
What the hell is happening here?
I'm just confused because I mean, we went from death row to the ear doctor's definition of a bitch. And I was drinking my tea behind the scenes. And when you said it, I literally started choking and crying because I was just confused. I'm like, but thank you for that, ear doctor.
No problem. I just feel like we got to break down these terms and realize that we can't let certain terms control us.
Terms of endearment, huh?
We need to take the power out of these terms and make them our own, point blank, and stop getting so offended so easily. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I think we might need to talk to the producer about clipping that one and just having that
all right,
very important information from there.
Enough of my schooling for the day. I catch y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Thank you, brother. He just said he'd catch us tomorrow. I thought he had one more segment, but okay.
Well, we got 15 minutes to rock, so we'll see what he does at the end. We'll see what new words he comes up with. There is a story. I don't know what we're going to do, but I was going to say there is a story I wanted to get to.
Let's go.
Cool. It's just, there's a couple of stories we didn't get through on the run sheet, and I know we're wrapping up soon. Mm-hmm. But I just thought this was such an interesting story because of how how it was framed and talked about. And so if folks are readers of the New York Times, there was a story this past weekend, and it spoke about how Israel has been targeting Iranian nuclear scientists for years, and have now reached targeting them for assassination with the claim, of course, that they are helping to build and or give nuclear weapons or nuclear knowledge to Iranians. And so the story in the New York Times sort of reaches this apex of talking about not only about how the Israelis, about the fact that Israelis are attempting to kill Iranian nuclear scientists, but that they've now come up with new AI-assisted remote killing machines, i.e., a machine gun that they use to set up the target. Set up without having somebody there on the spot to pull the trigger, and how they successfully killed a top Iranian nuclear scientist a few years ago. And so one of the reasons why I think the story, the way it's being framed or talked about, is important for us to think about, is because also with the story comes the idea that the way it's told suggests to us that it's almost okay to kill Iranian nuclear scientists. And the more fascinating part of it is, look how they're doing it with this great spy techniques and technology. A country that has 100 nuclear warheads, that has the most sophisticated military apparatus in the Middle East, obviously has displaced, ethnic cleansed Palestinians off their own land. What we're supposed to look through the lens of how this country kills and how we're supposed to see it is fascinating.
You know? I mean, like it's a video game. But not only that, how much does the U.S. give Israel a year? What, as far as the documented amount?
It's a few $1 billion. I know that a year. Yeah.
Few $1 billion.
It's the highest amount of foreign resources given, and then second is to Egypt.
Right. So basically, it's safe to say with these billions of dollars that the U.S. Willingly funds Israel with every year, that basically they're funding these assassinations. So the United States government is part and parcel in these murders, these AI assisted terrorist acts. So they're both guilty and they're both complicit, correct?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like you said, and they talk about it like, you know, like, oh, well, you know, these are Iranians, you know, like
so they deserve to die, or they can be target practice for our new machinery. And obviously that's how most folks of color are treated. Half the time these wars are started, they're done so to test out new military weapons that have not been used before, and they do so in a population that they hide from us. And then, of course, the mainstream news reports it in such a way so that we never get to hear the details or the story. We just, again, also had the story in Afghanistan, where one of the last acts of the U.S. military was to drop a drone on a family or a group of people claiming that they were terrorists. The Pentagon sticking by that story, saying that that it was a good hit. And to the credit of some news organizations, including New York Times this time, they did an expo. Many of us were suspicious beforehand because the history of droning in places like Afghanistan and Iraq is to kill civilians. They target weddings, they target mass gatherings, and make the claim that if there's a mass gathering, then somehow there's some terrorists at work or something along those lines. But in this particular case, they droned and killed approximately 10 people, 7 of them children. And only through investigative reporting did they have to come out and retract and say, oh, we got it wrong. And that's how they did it. It was a horrible mistake.
Right.
So it's a horrible mistake that seems to happen over and over and over and over and over again, leading us to believe that this is not a mistake. This is part of your policy to frighten and scare the general population into submission. That this is not something that just happenstance over and over again. But again, it's the testing of these new weapons, the ability to kill populations who don't have a voice and who can't speak out, or a population is demonized, i.e. the Iranians. And so it doesn't matter what they do. We just, usually most Americans just go with the flow and allow anything to happen to them. So,
hey man, U.S. policy, foreign and domestic, same shit. Different region. You know, it's crazy you saying that, because while you're talking about, I'm thinking about these this cop city shit. You know what I mean? And the impact and the effect it's going to have internationally. And when you talk about utilizing these new weapons, 100 acres of land, you can only imagine what they're going to be busting off on these on this particular property, man. So you know, again, yeah.
Like, just
so,
to add on, I mean, for folks who don't know, this is in Atlanta. The Atlanta Police Department is basically the city council has approved, as he said, 100 acres of forest land, which is going to be deforested, to put up this huge training facility. And why the Atlanta police need such a huge training facility to explode, and they said some of the uses of it to explode weapons, to do mass training. This is obviously another opportunity, and they train with Israeli forces. So there's a program that has Israeli police coming here teaching tactics on policing to Atlanta police. And so we understand that this is not about, quote unquote, stopping crime. What this is really about is controlling a population in mass. This is happening after mass protests of last year with George Floyd, and here in Atlanta, Rashad Brooks, who was killed by the police. So this is something that's in some ways in response to this, to change the narrative and so forth. But like you said, this is really providing them with more land and space to train as a military institution, as opposed to whatever a policing force is supposed to do. It's not supposed to be a military equipped and trained army that gets then deployed to particularly Black neighborhoods.
Hey, man. Woo! That's all I can say on that, man. It's the more the words of Chairman Fred, it's terrible, but it's fine. Meanwhile, here in Atlanta, Kasim Reed, same mayor that we talked about earlier during Occupy, he's pretty much, we probably can add him to the books. He's on the comeback now, running for mayor. You know, you had this little brief moment with Keisha Lance Bottoms, who was on his
in his administration. She was on the city council.
Part of his administration, right?
Yeah, but she was in the city, and she was handpicked by Kasim.
That's right.
To replace him as mayor because he was under the threat of indictment. And when I think basically when he figured out, I've escaped that. Right. My theory is that he just gave her a phone call and was like, "Hey, Keisha, I want my job back." So
yeah. And plus, she didn't want that smoke anyway because she just had this issue. The Rayshard Brooks thing snapped everything. You know, that was the straw that broke the camel back. She inherited a different form of hell because you thought that Kasim had it bad with the whole Occupy thing and the Troy Davis piece. Then she comes in and this whole thing. So it's been a rough little tenure for these folks around these parts. But you know, it's all good, man. That's what comes with war, as Imam Jamil would say. I like to say free all political prisoners. I like to say definitely let's fight to end the death penalty. And yes, this is coming from me. At least the death penalty as currently constituted by the state. I don't think that the state should have any jurisdiction over us as far as the law because of the fact that it is a criminal, you know, they're a criminal occupying force themselves. So it's like, this is, you know, now they're telling you what you can and cannot do, who we can deport. It's like, we're going to go steal this land. We're going to take all the shit. And then we're going to tell you who can come in and who can't come. I mean, some cold motherfuckers. And no one's looking at it. It's like, oh, that's the past. You know what I mean?
No. It's the past for us. You know, we tell them to stay in, not to remember their past.
That's right.
To never forget, you know, for them it's never forget. For us, it's forget the past. For them, it's never forget. So, you know.
Exactly. They like, why y'all bringing up old shit? That's awfully white of them. But anyway, you're checking out the RemiX Morning Show. We're going to wrap up in honor of Troy Anthony Davis. Like I said, and I know y'all been hearing that name and been hearing me pump it because of the fact that this is someone who I spoke to regularly. This is a family that I got to know. This is a family who I attended 3 funerals for their immediate family in the same year, in 2011. There was his mother, Virginia Davis, who transitioned April of 2011. There was the execution of Troy Davis, who was in September and December 1st. There was, you know, the death of Martina Davis Correa, who I was actually a pallbearer at her funeral. You know, so I grew really close with this family, man. So, you know, just being here right now, man, it's you know, and one of the things, just real quick, that they don't often point out, one of the witnesses that recanted his statement was actually illiterate and didn't even know what the hell he was signing. That's how crazy this case is. But we'll talk more about that tonight. Again, check us out, troydavis.eventbrite.com, troydavis.eventbrite.com. Go get your tickets, and we'll see you all tonight. We're going to leave you with a video tribute to Troy, and we'll see you all tomorrow, same station. RemiX Morning Show,
everybody.
Black Power Media. It's on the way. Anyway, moving right along. My bad. It's an error on my behalf.
That was such a great setup. It was
I
such
know.
a great setup.
It was wonderful. I was ready, and I'm like,
paused
okay.
for as long as I could pause. I paused.
I did too, man. I'm
So
like,
where's
you
the
know,
video,
we got it.
I got it now.
Yeah, hold on, man. Chill. Tell the people about.
Chill. We on the air live, son. Ain't no chill. Where's the video?
Tell the people about when you was 8. Now, give me 1 second. We coming now. Anyway,
my childhood stories.
Yeah, tell your childhood story while we wait.
Y'all wait.
Anyway,
y'all stay in that audience for a couple of seconds. We got this video coming up. We got
don't
it
even
now?
trip, man. Hold on, man. It ain't here yet. Chill. Now you know what it was.
Production. Look, I could see him. He bouncing on keys. I'm not gonna let him off.
Oh man,
there's some beads of sweat coming on now. Some beads of sweat.
Coming right along. Anyway, we
go.
definitely appreciate y'all supporting what it is we're
doing.
Do
a whole outro again, D? Just play the video.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Try to play it off like, yeah, it's all good. Let me send this right clip to the producer. That was my fault. So I will take what am I supposed to say? I will take
I know.
I'll take the blame right now. But anyway,
yo, Black Power Media, yo, we out.
Yeah, we out of here. One love.